Tonight, the Middle East is reeling from the astonishing fall of Bashar al-Assad, former president of Syria. Scott Pelley is in the Syrian capital, Damascus.
The story will continue in a moment.
An entire generation of Syrians has never known freedom. And so when it swept over them last Sunday, there was shock, then joy, and a desperate hope that it might last. Damascus is a city nearly 5,000 years old. But over this decade, the war has seemed like the end of civilization. 500,000 Syrians are dead. 13 million have been forced from their homes. This past week, we traveled 300 miles on the road to Damascus to meet a people awakening from 50 years of dictatorship. Take the road to Damascus from the east, and you find the suburb of Ain Tarma. The outskirts of one of the great cities of history has been bombed into the Stone Age. This was President Bashar al-Assad's answer to mostly unarmed protests that began in 2011. Many who rose against Assad then are still here. That's the Zaydan family. We were living here in peace when we just demanded freedom and to be able to earn our daily bread. The Assad regime started bombing us. Mohammed Saeed Zaydan and his wife Nihal have lived here 2 years. When you came back here after the shelling, what did you see? What did you think? We couldn't hold back our tears when we came back here. We're not nomads, but what could we do? No electricity, no running water. 15 families in the Zaydan building alone. 6 flights up, 70-year-old Naja Zaydan burns rags to cook. There's no fuel, no trees. The ceiling looks exhausted, and winter comes this week. We'd like to show you the immensity, but we can't, because the ruins run for miles in every direction. And this is what you would see in most every Syrian city. To stay in power, Assad left his people to starve. So Mohammed Zaydan built a furrow from broken bricks to farm radishes, spring onions, and coriander. When you first heard that Assad was gone, could you believe it? We felt like everyone else, like we were in a bad dream and finally woke up. She said, "We're still in shock. Is he gone for real?" On the road, the signposts of history tell the backstory. Hafez al-Assad, the father, ruled from 1970. The bullet holes give you a sense of how he's remembered. Then, in the year 2000, the son, Bashar, continued the brutal police state. We've been covering the civil war for 12 years. It began with an exodus of millions. At the time, the greatest humanitarian catastrophe since World War II. This berm marks the border between Syria and Jordan. The refugees that we ran into were coming across the top of the berm and turning themselves into the safety of the Jordanian border officers here. We reported on the relentless bombardment of civilians and the rescue work of Syrians known as the White Helmets. They're civil defense volunteers who have given thousands a second chance at life. We covered Assad's 2013 nerve gas and chemical attacks that killed an estimated 1,400 civilians. By 2015, Russia and Iran had joined the war to prop up Assad's forces. Russian airstrikes saved Assad, and we saw bombed hospitals in rebel territory, a war crime. Everyone's afraid of being beside a hospital because they know the hospital's going to be a target of an airstrike. And with 500,000 Syrians dead, we met a generation of orphans. Last year, we reported on Syrians left destitute by a massive earthquake in rebel territory. Until this fall, the rebels had been cornered in the north. Assad had all but won the war. But this month, his allies abandoned him. Vladimir Putin had exhausted Russian forces in Ukraine. Iran was fighting Israel. So 3 weeks ago, the rebels saw the chance and swept through the major cities to Damascus. Assad's army, hollowed out by corruption, simply ran away. The dictator fled to Moscow. We found nearly all you need to know about Assad's rule in Examination Room 2 at Damascus Hospital. These corpses are Assad's prisoners from a notorious jail. Dr. Ayman Nasser told us that he received 35 bodies. There is one with severe signs of torture, he said. Many of the bodies show signs of malnutrition or lack of oxygen from overcrowding in the places where they were kept. The cause of death was most likely multiple organ failure caused by malnutrition. Starved to death in a prison. They were the last to die of untold thousands of political opponents who vanished into Assad's jails over the decades. When word spread on Facebook that 35 were here, the desperate came searching for the damned. Who are you looking for? Faiza Hussein al-Ali's son was arrested. There are so many like my son. From our village alone, about 70 prisoners. We are drowning in sorrow. Our hearts are burning. I am like every mother here, crushed by pain every day. The regime killed 2 of my sons. One was killed by a sniper for no reason. The other died rescuing survivors from airstrikes when planes bombed them again. And he had a girl and a boy. Who are you looking for? My son, Susan Al-Tunji told us. Like many, she received a death certificate from the prison years ago, but no body, no proof. How long has he been missing? 12 years. I pray I find him. Even if he's dead, it's okay. Just give me the body. All I want is to find some rest. Forensic pathologists compare photos and teeth. This doctor asks a relative, "Do you have a picture of him smiling?" In this way, they have identified 18 so far. Dr. Nasser told us, "We empathize and we do our best to help, but the pressure from the families is overwhelming." We saw that when we met the rage of people who have never known justice. Tagrid al-Badawi's son disappeared 12 years ago. Assad is a war criminal. Someone like him should die like a dog. He and the Assad family should be executed for the horrors we now see. Who is this, sir? This is my son, he told us, arrested in 2013. They took him at a checkpoint. He was driving a bus for a living. Who is this? Show me. This is your brother? What is his name? In 2012, her brother was arrested on his way to a store. They gave us his ID card and told my mother never to ask about him again. They're a bunch of butchers. Who is this?
My brother.
And how long has he been missing?
13 years now.
13 years in the prison. You did not find him here.
لا لا ما لقيته.
Do you have hope that you will find him?
We do have hope, he said. God willing.
Hope and apprehension are spilling into the streets of Damascus. Most of this city of about 2.5 million people is intact because this was the dictator's stronghold. No one under the age of 54 has ever known freedom, has ever been able to speak of politics above a whisper. That's a tough memory to break. One man told us, "We got Assad out of Syria. Now we have to get him out of us."
There was joy in the crowd headed for Friday prayers. 75% of Syrians are from the largest branch of Islam, the Sunnis, and the rebel leaders are Sunni fundamentalists. But no one knows yet how minority Muslim sects and Christians will be protected. The leader of the rebels is 42-year-old Ahmed al-Shara. In 2013, the U.S. named him a terrorist and later put a $10 million bounty on his head. But so far, al-Shara has kept order. There's little sign of destruction, looting, or reprisals, and government workers are on the job. The people do not know yet how they will be governed. Peace seems to be in the hearts of many, but the shooting hasn't stopped entirely. Israel last week grabbed the chance to bomb what's left of Syria's military. The U.S. is hitting remnants of ISIS terrorists in central Syria. As for Russia, satellite pictures of its major naval base on Syria's Mediterranean coast now reveal that the ships are gone. Back where we began, in the Damascus suburb Ain Tarma, we saw the immensity of what lies ahead. It will take hundreds of billions of dollars to rebuild Syria, and Syria is destitute. Mohammed Zaidan and his wife are resigned to live here. Besides, a new home is not what they want the most. They want their 39-year-old son. In 2012, he was stopped at an Assad regime checkpoint, and they never heard from him again. What does that mean for your lives now that Assad is gone? This feels like a new birth, a new beginning. Though my hair has turned gray and my time is past, we feel, thank God, young again. We hope by the hands of our young people, God willing, it will be better than it was before. A new Syria is likely to be built by the kind of people who look out on despair and somehow see a future. Experience tells Syrians they have no reason to hope that freedom will last. And yet, that hope endures.